Hi, my name is Olivia Mangum, and my presentation I'm going to be giving is on designer foods. So, what is a designer food? Designer foods are normal foods that have been fortified with health promoting ingredients. So, they are made by a process of fortification or nutrification. So, you take your basic foods, such as a whole grain or even an egg, and it can either be DNA modified or with biotechnologies, or any other technology that they have that can help the fermentation process of a food and basically change the food by adding in more nutrient dense factors such as more antioxidants or anything that is a health promoting ingredient. So, the textbook's definition of designer foods. So, in the textbook, they did not directly talk about designer foods, but they did talk about the fortification process of designer foods, which I thought would be helpful to discuss. So, the textbook stated that enriched foods are fortified foods to which nutrients have been added. Basic foods such as milk or whole grains have a highly nutritious ending. So, this is basically going back to what I said in my previous slide, how basic foods such as your whole grains or even milk are fortified by adding in an abundance of other nutrients. The example I gave before, antioxidants, but they can add in stuff or take out stuff that they don't feel is beneficial. And the whole point of fortification is basically to make the food as nutritious or as health beneficial as possible. How do designer foods affect health? So, an article I read that I did really enjoy reading was about milk and how many people who are lactose intolerant can now get the benefits of milk, such as calcium, from other milks that aren't normal dairy milks, such as almond milk and coconut milk. And personally, I have switched 100% to almond milk because I am lactose intolerant, and I really just enjoyed reading this article. So, a point I wanted to share was that among the applications of designer milk in the diet and human health is that it generates a greater proportion of unsaturated fatty acids in milk fat. So, basically, the stuff that was in regular milk that people can't drink, such as lactose or lactogluten, as the article stated, is now going to get removed. And along with all the additional fat that comes from regular cow's milk, it is removed, and things were added, such as a ton of protein. Like almond milk, I know, has a ton of protein because almonds are a great protein source, and this makes it a much more nutritious option and an overall healthier option for people to choose. And even if you do enjoy milk or you can enjoy milk, there is now an option for you to enjoy different milks, so milk alternatives basically. So, the history of designer foods. So, designer foods have just recently become very popular, but there is a history to them. So, the term was introduced in Japan in 1980s for referring processed food containing nutrient conferring of some additional health benefits. So, this goes back to the basic definition of what fortification is, and the Japanese obviously started this in the 1980s and gave us a great example of how the health benefits are added to designer foods, and this is what makes them so much different from a normal food. And in China, they started using designer foods, or as they call them, health foods, in their medicines a long time ago. So, something the Chinese are very big on is ginger, or ginger in your tea when you're sick or have a cold, because it does open you up and it makes you able to breathe even when your nose is stuffy. Ginger has a lot of health promoting ingredients and is in a bunch of designer foods that we know now. Kombucha uses ginger in almost all of their drink varieties, and it is just something that is so great for your health. And in 1994, the Institute of Medicine's Food and Nutrition Board defined designer food as any food or food ingredient that may provide a health benefit beyond the traditional nutrients it contains. So this goes back to my first definition of a designer food. So it is something that is just enhanced with nutrients and can essentially help boost the immune system and boost your health. So my first controversy is going to be on, are these products necessary? These products are not necessary to a healthy lifestyle for many people. We have to remember that these products are just normal foods that have been fortified by biomechanics or fermentation and just added with health promoting ingredients. An argument that a lot of people pose is that you could just get the basic version of the food and be fine with getting in your normal everyday nutrients, because a lot of people don't believe that the health benefits really come out of these designer foods and don't really feel like either spending the extra money or going to look for a specific product that they haven't tried yet, or they're afraid to even try it. So my counter argument to my last slide would be, are these products necessary? And yes, these products are necessary, and in my own biased opinion, I do believe that these are necessary. The American Dietetic Association believes that there is a huge increase in demand of functional foods. That's what they call designer foods. Because in America, we make the choice every single day to go eat at these fast food restaurants that give us no nutritional value whatsoever. And they believe that making little choices, such as instead of getting an orange juice because you believe it'll provide antioxidants, that if you chose a pomegranate juice or a kombucha, this would be more beneficial to your health. So the next controversy I'm going to be discussing is that, do designer foods prevent cancer? Yes, designer foods do prevent cancer or can prevent cancer, because designer foods allow, because of the fortification process they have, to allow nutrients to be fortified into their regular diet. A great example of this would be in black tea, which many people drink on a daily basis, or at least should. Is it contains polyphenols, and polyphenols are known to reduce tumor size. So if you are someone who is diagnosed with cancer or is trying or has it run in the family and you're trying to prevent this from happening, black tea may not be the cure to your cancer, but this could certainly help. It also stated that the consumption of wine or polyphenol rich foods and beverages could have a beneficial anti-proliferative effect on breast cancer cell growth. So again, if you are a woman or anyone who has this and it runs in your family, this is a great way to try and prevent it. So my counter argument to my last slide is that, do designer foods prevent cancer? No, designer foods do not prevent cancer. Even though there are health benefits that come out of them, such as the polyphenols from black tea and wine, I believe that cancer is something that is not necessarily genetic, but sadly grows inside of you, and maybe such things such as the polyphenols could reduce it or make it a more benign than it could be, but I don't believe it'll 100% prevent cancer. It also stated that the intake of processed meats is considered as a carcinogen to humans. So many Americans do follow a meat-based diet, and even if you are getting in the antioxidants or the polyphenols from your black tea or drinking a glass of wine at night, you could counteract your diet with processed meats that you're eating, or any sort of meat that you're eating, because nowadays we aren't always 100% sure where our food is coming from and if it's as good as it says it is. So the political view of designer foods. So in the United States, we have regulations and laws for foods that are set by the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration, and the US FDA, which is our United States Food and Drug Administration. So the designer foods have gained a greater importance because of the health effects. So in 1994, the U.S. Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, otherwise known as DSHEA, regulates only the dietary supplement or dietary ingredient, but not designer food. So it can look at your pills that you put in your body, but it can't really tell you if a designer food that you buy is really going to work. So the clinical view of designer foods are fortified with additional nutritional value. These foods can help a person live a healthier lifestyle, but again, this has not been 100% proven because there are other factors to play into one's health. These foods have become great for people with allergies, such as lactose intolerant, or nut allergies, or diets you choose to live, such as a vegan lifestyle where you can choose a plant-based alternative such as almond milk and still get the nutrients that you need and keep up with your health and get everything that you need. So cultural and social views towards designer foods. So culturally, there are a lot of food certain cultures don't accept. So one big one is that India, a lot of people do live a vegan lifestyle or they live a dairy-free lifestyle. So now that there are more dairy-free options, such as the coconut milk and the almond milk, they're able to get the nutrients that they need, but not have to sacrifice their beliefs. So what is the government doing? As I said before, we have the FDA and the US FDA, which regulate the food and implants policies among food. On the FDA websites, they stated that the addition of nutrients to specific foods can be an effective way of maintaining and improving the overall nutritional quality of the food supply. So they have put in a definition on their website for designer foods because, again, designer foods are growing and the population of people consuming them are growing. And now the FDA is prepared to answer questions or answer anything that people have as a rebuttal for misleading claims or any label that they see on foods. The FDA will now regulate these designer foods and make sure that the claims that they are making are accurate. So what are local and global organizations doing? So designer foods are gaining a greater importance in the United States due to their role in disease prevention and health promotion. So the US FDA's Dietary Supplemental Health and Education Act of 1994 regulates only the dietary supplement or dietary ingredient, but not designer food. So again, we are getting better, but we're not 100% there because we have not actually regulated the definition of designer foods. And globally, in Canada, there's no specific regulation on designer foods, but the Food and Drugs Act and regulations regulates their quality and safety of foods. So, summary. Just to elaborate on everything I've been talking about. So, just again, designer foods are normal foods. They have just been changed or modified to have a greater abundance of nutrients and health promoting ingredients. I do believe designer foods are a great way to live a healthy lifestyle, but it definitely is not the only way. I do believe that these things are a great thing to have, and it's amazing that we have the technologies to make these things because those who follow different lifestyles such as veganisms or food allergies such as lactose intolerant, there are now an abundance of foods there for you to get and make sure you're getting in all your nutrients through food rather than taking a pill or having to get injections for them. It's just overall much better for you. However, I don't believe that designer foods cure cancer. Even though they do have anti-cancer agents, which are definitely great for you, I don't believe that they are the end-all be-all to cancer and can prevent or cure it. And I do believe, however, that designer foods are not essential and not like crucial to a healthy lifestyle, but they definitely do have a huge benefit on your health and can make your diet, can improve your diet 100%, even if you change one little thing. How I mentioned before, America is an obese population, and for us to have these designer foods and be able to make the healthier choice and change out one little thing that we're eating, it will be a great payoff. So here are my references, and thank you for watching.